item on the agenda is liaison reports, I believe. Getting turned around here on my agenda is what I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. Liaison reports. Is there anything to report from meetings you may have attended since our last town council meeting?
Nope.
John, this is Tom.
Yes, Tom.
I didn't attend the last budget meeting, but Deb did, and I think we may have an issue with expressing town council desires that we haven't agreed to. Deb may not realize it, but we have. I know that one of the things that we do. Excuse me. I know one of the things that we do every year. One of the things that we do every year is we meet in the summertime, and we have a strategy. It's probably in a non-public meeting or a non-meeting with our attorney. We develop a strategy for negotiations with the upcoming union contracts, and it's important that we all are on the same page so that we go into these negotiations with what our strategy is and what our objectives are. And one of the things that that came up at the last budget meeting may have unknowingly, by Deb, may have revealed our strategy without coordinating it with the rest of the council as to what we expect out of the unions in terms of union negotiations. So I think it's important that we have to act as one with prior agreement, or else we either going to confuse the unions, or we're gonna be divided when we go and negotiate with the unions, which could in the end cost the taxpayers more money instead of less money.
Okay.
Tom, I spoke as a resident, and I said that very clearly. I am not speaking as a town councilor. I am speaking as a resident, and I brought up two subject matters. One was I requested as a resident that maybe the budget committee, I wanted to see their temperament on maybe asking all departments on school, library, and town, all governments, to look at cutting the budget by 2 to 3%. And then I said it would be good if we did this in advance, maybe just getting the dialogue going. And then I also said it might be good to start a conversation with the unions to look at something there, like maybe not accepting raises. But I did it not as a town councilor, I did it as a citizen. And it was just to see what the temperament was of the budget committee, and to see if we could get conversations going earlier, so that everything isn't crammed down our throats very quickly.
But Deb,
So
I don't think
that's why
I hear you, but I don't
Right.
I don't believe you can legally divorce yourself from the town council just by saying you're speaking as a resident. Now that you're elected, you're always speaking as a town councilor. And
okay, so why do we have that thing? We have to do that.
No, let me finish. Let me finish.
So
let me finish. When you ask them to think about foregoing their raises, that is you're very close to the line on an unfair labor practice, and could cost us some legal issues. So that's why it's very important that when we start to develop the strategy for our negotiations with the unions, that we get the advice of our council, so that we don't do anything inadvertently. Even if it's a good idea, if it's an unfair labor practice, could cost us several thousands of dollars in legal litigation. So it's just a word to the wise. We got to be very careful along these lines.
Mr. Chairman, could I have clarification?
please proceed.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, there was a communication from you concerning the issues that Deb brought up And was it put in as contents as confidential and privileged information? Just so I understand.
So I think there's a couple of points that need to be
It had
understood.
nothing to do with that.
So I just think there needs to be a couple, well, excuse me, but I think there needs to be a couple of points that need to be understood. An easy way to understand this is when, for example, when the governor of New Hampshire is elected as the governor can no longer be anybody but the governor. Right? The same thing applies to us as town councilors. For example, the governor runs a ski resort. Well, he can't run the ski resort and be the ski resort person and the governor. You have to choose. So once you're a town councilor 24/7. You can't be the publisher of the newspaper and a town councilor at the same time, and you can't be one or the other. You're an elected official, you're a town councilor, and respectfully, Deb, you and I had this conversation, and you had the conversation with Attorney Ramsdell. So let's just be clear about that. You can't say you're a resident, and I want to be, I'm trying to be educational here. I went through and I listened to the whole budget committee piece. At the beginning of the meeting, you identify yourself as a town councilor. Then you say you're a resident, and then you identify yourself as a town councilor again at the end of the meeting.
I didn't identify myself. They identified me.
Well,
They identified me and I corrected them.
And you are a town councilor.
And I've seen everybody
24/7.
say those things before at meetings.
And they're wrong.
But I've seen,
Just because they did it doesn't mean it's right. They're wrong. You're a town councilor 24/7. So that answers one. The second piece to it is that things with regards to collective bargaining agreements were shared under a privileged confidential email with the town council. And that's all I can say, is there was information shared with that. I'm not saying that you referred to that information. What I'm saying is that information was shared with the council. I hope that answers your question.
well, it doesn't, but I just feel that I've seen every single one of you people say at meetings, I'm speaking as a resident. I am not speaking as this. So now you're telling me that I can't do that. I can't speak at a meeting as a resident. And to compare me to the governor, and he gets paid to do what he does. I don't get paid to do what I do. I'm volunteering basically my time to try to do what's right for the citizens of Londonderry. And if asking questions or getting a conversation started is wrong, I guess I don't understand. I mean, I thought that's what our job was, to do our best to the citizens of this town. And by asking a question or talking about something, it just seems to me that I have no idea when your budget committee, that you sit down and make all these plans for things. I thought everything was done in the public. I didn't understand, and I still don't understand this whole private thing, because I haven't really seen any of these non-public meetings. We haven't had any. I don't know what they are. I have no idea what goes on in them. I would assume it's only personnel, but this had nothing to do with personnel. This was throwing out an idea in lieu of what we're going to be facing this year with the COVID, and to make sure that we got ample time to think about things and make really sound and good decisions, as opposed to rushing it because people aren't around in the summer. That was my thinking. And I'm sorry if that's wrong. I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to get a conversation going early.
Deb, I want to ask one question, because this is a concern of mine, okay?
Yes, sir.
You got the information, and it was privileged information. So to go to a meeting and as a counselor and as a private citizen and take that information and bring it forward, Deb, who's kidding? You can't have.
I didn't bring any of that information forward.
Because my confidentiality
it has nothing to do with that
is going to be broken now, Deb. Because guess what? I don't feel comfortable that I can say anything, or anyone can say anything, and then all of a sudden you bring it up in a public meeting by saying to yourself, "Oh well, I'm speaking as a resident." It doesn't work that way, Deb. It doesn't work that way. You've broken my trust with you. And you can say what you want.
You never had any trust with me, Jim. So what does it matter? Stop acting all pious. You didn't trust me to begin with. So stop
Deb,
it.
stop it. Will you please?
Just stop.
Please
Just stop.
Deb.
just
No,
You
you know
stop.
something? You can't have your cake and eat it too. And I see this as a direct conflict of interest between you being a counselor and having a newspaper.
let's not open the door there.
Oh no, the
Because every one of
door's
us have
open, Deb,
conflicts of
because you
interest.
opened it up.
You
You
want
opened
those doors open?
So as
You
far
really
as
want 'em open, Jim?
confidentiality, I'll tell you what. I really doubt it now.
So,
And I don't want to
so-
hear the I'm sorry bit either.
So,
I did it not even thinking about that confidentiality thing. I'm thinking about
You're a
other
public
things.
official now. You have to think. Now, if something happens, that's been exposed to labor unions. Great job. It's a great job. Deb,
And
come on.
Jim, let's
Who's
be
kidding
honest.
who? You
Every
want your
single
cake
one
and
of
eat it
them
too,
have to
and I'll
realize
tell you
that
what,
in
it's blow up
advance.
in your face.
You're not going to bully me. Stop
I'm not
bullying
bullying.
me.
Oh, stop it, Deb.
Just
I'm not going
stop
to
it.
bully you. You've been in town a long time. You say you know everything.
You
Stop.
are.
Stop playing Mickey the Dunce, okay?
I don't know anything. I'm learning.
Yeah, or you don't know anything. That's not what you tell people. You've been in town a long time. You know it all. Enough. Mr. Chairman, I'm off.
I don't know Jack. Good, go.
You don't know
Take
what?
your ball and go
You don't
home.
know
You're behaving
Jack.
like a child.
You don't know Jack.
You're
Well, that's
behaving
not what
like
you
a
tell
child.
people.
No, I don't.
Yeah, no,
Because I
you
was
are.
never a
You have
counselor.
broken confidence.
I
As far as
don't
I'm
know.
concerned, you have broken confidentiality amongst the counselors.
Hey,
And that's
Mr.
just
Chairman,
what you were with.
Mr. Chairman, this is Tom.
Deb, poor Deb Paul. I hear it all the time. Stop.
Oh, my God.
okay,
Oh my
so,
God. Oh, go ahead.
so,
Why
so
don't you
Counselor
say,
Dolan,
I'm sorry.
so Counselor Dolan,
Well, two things. One, if you run across, when you run across something where there's potential legal issues, like there are with the informal negotiations with the unions, or suggesting that they do something that's contrary to the collective bargaining agreement, the best thing you can do if you face something like that and you're not sure is you ask the chairman to call a meeting with the town attorney, and then we all sit with the attorney and you present that question on the table saying, I have this issue. Is it okay for me to bring this up in public? And then you get the legal advice from the town attorney and you move forward. The other issue you mentioned about that Sununu gets paid, I think you realize you also get paid for this job you're in now. After the first of next month, start of the fiscal year, you can submit a voucher to get your pay for the year. It's not very much, but it is a paycheck.
Okay.
yes, in accordance with the charter, the councilors are
Well,
paid, and
I
we are
thought that we'd have
indemnified
conversation.
under the town's insurance. So, it's probably time to move on, and,
Mr. Chairman?
pardon me? So I think, I think that, a couple of things here is that, the town council has been advised for many years, while there may be some memory of people identifying themselves as residents, I know that every meeting I've attended for the last 10 years, I've identified myself as a member of the town council. So, so let's just move that. Joe, I'm sorry, were you raising your hand?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Joe, I missed you. Go ahead, please.
And I don't want to pile on, Deb. I just trying to, as a person that's been on the council for a while, I worry about just the language that you used. Mr. Chairman, is it okay if I direct my comments directly to?
Of course.
Councilor Paul? I just worry about the language when you used saying that you don't believe that it's a bad thing to be able to separate yourself from. I'm now speaking as a citizen versus a councilor. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable with the explanation, because what we don't want to have happen is this to continue, especially as more and more privileged information comes out. I just want to make sure you feel comfortable. If you need more explanation, we're all here to talk about it. You know what I mean?
I do, Joe. So, for example, when somebody just say is on the council, right, and they have a conflict of interest, right, so they can recuse themselves from that, or even on the planning board, correct? They step into the audience, and I've seen this happen. People will then step up and speak to the issue, and they're speaking as a resident. So this is where I'm confused. If I am taking myself out of that position, almost recusing myself as a counselor and saying, I am speaking as, I don't understand the
When-
difference.
When you recuse yourself as a voting member under the RSA for particular reasons. Budget committee members are budget committee members 24/7. School board members are school board members 24/7. It's just the way the statute's written. It's the advice that we've been given for the last 10 years. And it's the way state law operates. And I understand it's all hard to understand, but that is the way that we work. And that is the way that we function as a council. We function as one body. And that when we do things and go to a non-meeting that you haven't attended, I think you can recall from our discussion, the advice I gave Councilor Combs is listen for the first few months because you're not expected to know everything. So, and I think you appreciated that, and that's what you told me at the time. So
No, I did. And I thought I understood that I had the right to do that. I guess I didn't.
well, I mean, you're not the budget liaison. Probably
I
going to the
understand.
liaison and talking to that person, if you didn't want to talk to me, that probably would have been, fine as well. But, but just calling into a meeting and asking for someone to cut the budget and across all three forms of government and for everyone to forego their raises. I mean, it can
I
be
didn't
considered
ask for everybody to do that. I thought it was to be looked at,
well,
not to be
but-
done. I didn't request it to happen. I just wanted to see what they thought about it.
Mr. Chairman?
Well,
as an
unfortunately,
idea.
that
Not
comes
a-
very close to creating a ULP, and unfortunately, it was all the phone calls I got the next day from all the presidents of the union saying, "What's going on?" Well, that's why we have to operate as a council and work together. So, is there anything further on this subject before I move off of liaison
Yeah,
reports?
Mr. Chairman, one more.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, last thing I'd say about it is maybe this will help is that, look, I mean, it's kind of difficult to be able to forget what you've already heard. So I think part of that reason why that rule is in there is because if you heard something, again, everything we hear allows us to make opinions, right? Everything we hear, whether it be out in the street or in particular in confidence, in a confidential situation, unfortunately, that's going to be in your head when you're trying to make a comment. And so the reason why you got to be careful about that information is because you can't forget it. It's going to be part of the format of your opinion. So, okay.
So I'll review for one last time with regards to privilege. When we receive privileged information from under attorney-client privilege, you have to be very careful what you do with that information until it's to be used at the appropriate time. If you break privilege, we can't continue to use that mechanism, going forward, this council or any other council, because you have violated the rules. So you must remember to use information the way that it's presented. So let's see about moving forward. Okay.